Hey, folks, this is the legislative recap for the week. We're going to start, first of all, really busy week, a lot of stuff jammed in here, none of it easy, a lot of subtleties and a lot of detail that's kind of inside baseball. We're going to start with FISA, which is Senate Bill 1318, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, or 1318, the Foreign Intelligence Accountability Act. So I voted no on this for a number of reasons. I just got to ask the FBI this week how many people have been held accountable for what remember, this is Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. So it's a great tool to use on foreigners, foreign governments that have malign intent for the United States of America. However, it's not supposed to be used on American citizens to spy on Americans without a warrant. That has happened, looking for some accountability and so forth. And most of that, by the way, has occurred at the FBI. There are other three-letter agencies that use FISA. The abuses happened at the FBI. We have some improvements to the bill. They're small, but we added, some of us, myself included, demanded that a ban on central bank digital currency be added to this bill, because that would be the ultimate spying tool on Americans. And they would be able to use the banks and financial systems to determine what you bought, when you bought it, if you could buy it, how much money you had, what you were spending it on, when you were spending it, all that kind of stuff. And so we thought that was appropriate to attach to that. And when the Senate said they were going to strip that out, between that and the lack of accountability, the lack of some kind of reasonable language that protects the Fourth Amendment rights of American citizens, I voted no. I understand it's very important. I think it can be improved. We'll see what the Senate does. I suspect the Senate's going to strip the one good thing out of it, which is central bank digital currency, and send it back to us. I would be a no vote on that as well until we get it right. So that's what happened on FISA. The Farm Bill, which is the Farm Food and Nutrition Security Act of 2026, or HR 7576. I voted yes on this. It's not a great bill, to be quite honest with you. Our farmers do need the help. When we can't get a vote on an amendment to not allow the SNAP food benefits to provide for soft drinks and that type of thing, when we got a crisis of diabetes, and when we can't get an affirmative vote on something like that, that's not a good sign. But we did get some good things, like farm equipment that will no longer be required to have all these emission controls on them, making them unaffordable. Also, a thing called the Prime Act, or portions of the Prime Act, which allow our small beef farmers to compete more readily than they have been. I think those are good things. So I suspect that this bill will get worse when it goes in the Senate, but right now I thought it was reasonable to vote for it, so I voted yes on the Farm Bill. Again, not a perfect bill by a long shot, but here we go. All right. The reconciliation, which essentially is just the first portion of the budget that funds the Department of Homeland Security, the Customs and Border Protection, and ICE, Immigrations and Custom Enforcement. The problem is that the Senate keeps sending over bills that have in the language zero funding for immigrations, customs enforcement, and border patrol. My concern is that the courts will look at that, if we approve that, and say that you voted to zero these things, that you essentially voted to defund law enforcement, and it doesn't matter if the president has found some other way to pay those people. And I don't want to be recorded as a vote to defund law enforcement. I think it's reckless. I think it's poor judgment. It did pass under what's called voice here on a suspension vote. So that's moving forward. Those folks will be paid, but I just don't want to be on record as voting for zero funding for law enforcement. I think that's outrageous, and it just frustrates me that that's what the Senate, and quite honestly, that's what Senate Democrats keep imposing on them over there, and they send it over here to the House and expect us to vote on that. All right, and then just as a follow-up, to the No Kill Switches in Cars Act, or HR 1137. I wrote an article stating that every new car in the United States will be required to have this kill switch put on them after model year 2026. So I imagine this fall, when the new model 2027 comes into play, that's when it's required. I don't know how the technology, I don't know if they've worked that out in the rule yet, but I've introduced an amendment to defund the automobile kill switch. Unfortunately, I didn't get enough votes on it, so the amendment failed. So right now, that is still in force. And this model year coming, they will be required in all cars, which means that your car, whether you want to shut it off or not, can be shut off by the federal government or by the government in general. I think that's an infringement of your Fourth Amendment rights, and it violates the Constitution and just the general principles of freedom in the United States of America. And so I just kind of wanted to give you an update on that. We're going to keep working on it. So as more technology and controls come into view where they can monitor everything about you while you're driving the car and determine even whether you should be driving the car, that's a bridge too far for me. So again, that's kind of the update for the week. Been a really, really busy week, but a lot of things have moved here. So not perfect, but that's kind of the outlook for now. And we'll catch you on the next week after we get done with the session here. God bless you and be safe. Happy spring.